Hey, everybody. Fascinating expert and discussion in store today as we talk in the world of location intelligence and what that means for industry and beyond. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Thanks for being here. Really intrigued by your team and its mission. Maybe introductions to start to yourself. And who is TRC? Not a company I was familiar with before today.
Sure. Well, I'll start with who TRC is. We're an engineering company that's been around since the 60s and got our start originally in the insurance industry and through different paths and journeys have ended up being a real critical player in the energy transition and helping companies move to renewables and do electrification work. And we're really trying to help drive the economy into the future. And our little part of it is using geospatial technologies to make a lot of that happen and facilitate a lot of the work through what IT and geospatial can do in that area. The group that I'm a part of is a recent acquisition of TRC, and we have about 250 or so folks that are a variety of backgrounds from data analysts, data engineers, to software developers, AI engineers, and all the other roles in between that help make projects happen and help our customers be successful and appreciate the work that we're doing for them. So, me personally, I have a background in civil engineering. And in delivering civil engineering work, I started using GIS, Geographic Information Systems, and became more enamored with the technology than the domain of application that I was involved in with civil engineering, which happened to be transportation. So I've, over the course of my career, became less kind of domain focused and more technology focused. And so my current role is to help make sure our customers understand the work that we do with geospatial technologies, but I'm also helping lead our AI capability over the last several years and really kind of looking at the intersection of those two technologies to do really cool, innovative things to advance the state of the art in this space.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And GIS is something that's known as a term to many of us, but explain location intelligence for the listeners and what's the big idea with best practices and some of the modern practices in this field?
Yeah, so location intelligence, it's really just making sure that geography is part of what you're using to solve a particular problem. So, a lot of what happens in our world has some spatial dimension to it, whether it's transportation and people moving from one place to another, whether it's considering how to build a house on a particular location and how to
Mm,
spatially kind of orient things there, how to fix our supply chains that have been broken by a global pandemic. There's location in everything that we are faced with in terms of problems that we're required to solve. So doing so with location intelligence is just a better way to approach problem solving because that critical geospatial or geographic dimension is and I guess one other area where it's really really important is in climate adaptation. So
mm.
understanding how the climate is changing in space and how our land is getting drier or wetter, or how weather events are becoming more extreme and less predictable. All those sorts of things require location intelligence for us to be able to continue to thrive in this world.
Absolutely. And all this is based on location data.
Yes.
And so, how are companies that you're working with using location intelligence, putting that data to work, and what are some of the best practices you're seeing out there?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers are at some point in kind of modernizing their IT from, the generation past, which was kind of the first generation of kind of enterprise IT. And now that we're fully into the cloud era, we have this emerging AI technology that's opening up a whole range of new applications. There's the customers are moving into a more modern technology environment. And so that typically means that they want to upgrade their GIS and start using geospatial data more strategically. So our customers are doing things like increasing the level of detail and accuracy in the location data that they maintain themselves to operate their business. And they're also understanding that there's a lot of externalities to their business that they need to understand. And as the point I made to your last question, having that geospatial component and that location intelligence is going to make them understand not only how they can operate their business more efficiently within the sphere of their control, but understand how these external factors play in how they run the business. So a lot of them are using, this emerging technology of AI to do some of that heavy lifting work to improve their data, increase the detail in that data, and improve the precision and accuracy. So using AI applications such as computer vision and machine learning models that utilize computer vision. And they're also using a lot of AI to kind of understand the location data that already exists within their enterprise. So oftentimes we work with customers to unlock, or I say rescue, data that's locked in obsolete formats. It could be in paper-based documents. So we use AI and some of the more mature subdisciplines of AI like OCR and machine vision to identify those location references, pull that out, and then make that data usable for the enterprise. So those are some kind of high-level examples of how the companies that we work with are getting more location intelligent and using the more modern technologies to get there.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time. There's a bit of a revolution or boom happening in location intelligence and geospatial tech. Why now? What's happening that's driving this? There must be tremendous economic drivers, but what are the other ones that you're seeing driving
Well,
this phenomenon?
yeah, so I think that we now are at a point where we have kind of these wonderful commodity cloud resources. So we can now do things at scale. We can scale up our compute, so that the computer power that we need to do tasks, and only pay for those spikes when we really need excess capacity. So there's an affordability part of the equation of why now. And there's also, a lot more challenges in the world that are bigger long-term problems that we need to help our clients and organizations address. So climate, I'll go back to climate. The changes that are happening with climate, are really driving a lot of decisions around, where is the location of demand for products and services going? People are moving to different parts of the country in response to the changing temperature or precipitation in a particular location. And then, things like the global pandemic that are luckily coming out of, and all the breaking of the supply chains and things. People understand that they need to really, know how to make those supply chains more resilient, know how to be adaptable when a source of a raw material for their product has gone offline, and how they adapt to that in a very effective fashion. So I think that, it's a combination of, we have the technology in place and the platforms in place to really efficiently and effectively and utilize more location intelligence. And we also have these bigger problems that require a more informed response, and specifically informed by location intelligence.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So you talk about AI and ML being a sort of superpower for what you do. Maybe give us a peek in behind the curtain into the tech stack and the tools or the scenarios you're using AI exactly for your work.
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned, the cloud, and all of the hyperscalers and cloud providers provide, wonderful suites of tools to use AI in their platform. So we typically start with using kind of the out of the box tool set that cloud providers have available to us. Then we customize an existing model usually. So we have academic interests, but we're not in the business of
Hmm.
generating, you know, novel models. We're really in the business of adapting the work of others and standing on the shoulders of these great researchers and scientists that have built these models. So we'll take an existing model off the shelf, adapt it to the use case that our customers have. And for example, an existing model that Meta or Google may have produced for a consumer application, like identifying the objects in a photograph, we can take that and identify types of equipment in a photograph that one of our utility customers, for example, has. So
Mm.
instead of identifying puppies and beach balls and flowers and vases from an image, or uncle or aunts, we're identifying valves and pipes and reducers and switches and things like that out of images. So that's one way that we're using AI, and then other ways that we're using it, are really to, and this is related, but we're using AI to help fill data gaps that our customers are finding. So as they modernize their systems, they want to have quality data to take full advantage of the modernization investment that they've just made. And if they have a gap in their data, and that gap could be just missing data, but can also be attributes of data that are necessary, or a quality gap, that sort of thing. We're finding that AI is a way to really efficiently and effectively fill some of those gaps, and it's mainly around reducing rote tasks and the labor associated with that, because they tend to be extremely boring for folks. And if we can focus them on tasks, the what used to be manual tasks, and we can take that work away and automate that with AI, then we can focus people on more of the QA end of things, and making sure that the data that's coming out of the processing is fit for purpose and is really meeting requirements as they are currently. So so that's
Interesting.
yeah.
And one of the areas I see you focused on is accessibility, especially with workers using advanced technologies for, kind of, worker safety and other scenarios. That's interesting. Describe exactly what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I'm using accessibility broadly in
Hmm.
my response to your question. So there is like the traditional accessibility improvements that we can make for people that have disabilities, and that could be impaired vision. It could be
Mm.
a language barrier. They could be, unfortunately, the internet and the world of information is largely English dominated, and so ESL speakers tend to be challenged sometimes with some of the language issues. But one of the things that we're doing is we're using generative AI and the natural language processing capabilities of AI to create voice interfaces to data and system functionality. So
Mm.
instead of having to train somebody on a complex map-based interface, which requires that they be map literate, which requires that they kind of have a basic
I
understanding of
see.
GIS and understand complex user experience, they can ask a question of a system in their own words, and then we can use that generative AI to translate that to SQL to create a database query. And then we can, on the back end, when the results come back, we can use the generative AI to present that in a way that's going to meet the user where they are. So the user
I
may
see.
be less of a visual learner, so they want to have the results in the table. They want to have a textual summary translated into the language that they're most comfortable reading. Those sorts of things. So that's one dimension of accessibility that I'm going to speak to. Another is, and you mentioned the safety issue. We're doing a lot of scanning of facilities that, like for example, like a substation in a natural gas network, and those
Mm.
can be dark, dank, dirty places that human beings aren't comfortable being in, but they can also present hazards, like if there's a gas leak, or if there's some other hazardous material in that facility. We don't want to expose humans and workers to those conditions. So when we go in and do the scan, we're getting really high definition imagery. We're able to use that imagery to derive the features within that station building, and turn that into GIS features. And so we're ultimately creating a very high resolution digital twin so that the worker in advance of going to that station, or maybe even avoiding a trip to that station completely, can do a virtual tour of the facility so that they can be prepared with whatever personal protection equipment is required to enter
Wow.
that facility, go with the tools that they need so they only have to make one trip and not expose themselves more than's necessary, and that sort of thing. So we're making virtual accessibility kind of replace physical accessibility in that particular case. And then just one of the other aspects of accessibility is, when we are providing the ability of people to interact with data and systems in their own terminology and in their own language, it's reducing the barrier, because technical people or to people involved in technology tend to create their own buzzwords and acronyms and things, and it can be just an alphabet soup for folks to try to navigate. So using generative AI to translate, just plain natural, human language into something that's that the machine can operate with. That's just a huge range of accessibility opened up. So we can have some data and systems that have historically been designed for a very highly trained analyst or computer operator can now be accessible to a lay person who doesn't even know the business of the business, and the CEO who knows what they want to know but doesn't know how to ask it in technical terms. And so, you may think, oh, we're reducing the workload for these traditional technical people, and that was what they did, is they helped answer questions using their technical skills. We're releasing them from a lot of the repetitive work and the easy work to do more innovative things and to add more value by pushing things forward with technology, instead of kind of just turning the crank on things that they already know how to do and can be turned into a self-service mode to others using the AI technology.
That's an amazing opportunity. And is there a lot of people retiring in the industry and utilities and energy and related fields with decades of experience, and younger people don't have that knowledge base and know-how. And so there's a tremendous opportunity to kind of bring in that new and educate and assist that new workforce. Really cool stuff. I mean, you're doing amazing work, but you're also very business focused. What are some of the business challenges when you talk about the business side, the economics, the ROI of these things? You must also be, or have a keen eye on that as well, in terms of doing things better, faster, differently, cheaper than we could do before.
Yeah, I mean, some of the really startling statistics that I could share about some of the AI work we've been doing with customers is that we have had a customer who was planning to do kind of a data improvement project, but using traditional methods, they figured it would take them 30 years. And the costs were quite astronomical because it was a largely manual process over those 30 years. By applying AI to that particular problem, we are able to reduce the time down to 15 months. And so not only are they saving all of that time and cost, they're able to get that information into their decision-making processes so that they can provide a better service to their customers. And they're obviously, not having such a hit on the bottom line that would have been required with that larger investment over 30 years. So the time to value is really compelling, in addition to the avoided costs and longer timelines.
Oh, well done. So we have a lot of listeners who are just embarking on this journey when it comes to AI and ML, particularly a lot of listeners and clients in telecom. Big use case, I imagine, for you guys as well. Any advice on best practices or getting started on this journey of leveraging location intelligence in a efficient way?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that I got started, because my career predates a lot of the current AI technologies, but there's so many people that are writing really insightful pieces on the application of AI, and so I've subscribed to a handful of online newsletters that I get delivered to my inbox every day. So I get kind of my my pre-read for the day done by just reading some of what these really smart authors are putting out there. And then there's a number of it's kind of like Stack Overflow, and
Mm,
there's just these kind of more traditional kind of practitioner resources available also online. And that, I guess, thirdly, and I haven't gone on this route, but I'm getting solicited a lot by these providers. But there are these kind of executive courses to teach you the fundamentals of AI, get
mm.
your understanding set about where there are appropriate applications, set expectations for the levels of investment you need to be prepared to make, those sorts of things. So I guess it'd be like continuing education, traditional online resources, and then getting these kind of really dense digest emails of what people are writing in the space around emerging technologies and the application of those.
Wonderful. Well, this has been very informative as well, and I appreciate your time and congratulations on all the great work you're doing. I can't wait to see more use cases and stories over the next few months and year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks everyone for listening, watching, sharing, and take care. Bye bye.